All right, ladies and gentlemen, friendly reminder, tomorrow you have your test. 27 minutes tomorrow. Focus in pieces is due. On Thursday, it's writing week. And you are picking up 2 DBQs tomorrow. Not tomorrow. No, I'll let you walk home with some confidence, and then I'll have you pick them up on Thursday morning, and we'll just smash that confidence. So on Thursday, you'll pick up 2 DBQs. You will not be writing DBQs over the weekend because it takes a long time before you can even begin writing a DBQ. So over the weekend, you will be doing 14 annotations and happies. That's happening. Like we're missing a day of school. There's no other way to make it up. So you're going to do 14 over the weekend. So when we come back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're writing. Does that make sense? Because if you don't do the annotations, you can't write the essays. So one has to, you got to put the horse in front of the cart. We got to do the annotations. So you're going to do them all in one big bulk. So that is Thursday. Friday, we have no school. Monday, that's when we'll actually begin writing essays. So if you think your weekend's going to be great, it's not. But it won't be writing full essays, so that's nice, right? So, but all of your essays will depend on how well you do your annotation. So if you do a terrible job, then it's going to be a terrible essay. Yep. It's going to go great. Welcome to DBQ Hell Week. It's going to be fun. With that being said, here we go. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the dude behind the white man's burden? Oh, God, guys, come on. I got 1, 2, 3, Lily. Rudyard Kipling. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is it called when another country takes over another country socially, politically, and economically? Thank you for collecting these. Good. Joey.
Imperialism.
What is it called when a country takes over another country economically? Good. What do we got? Sterling. Spheres of influence. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the gentleman who believes that if it wasn't for imperialism, people, Europe would have self-destroyed. What an annoying morning you're having. I'm so sorry, my darling.
Yeah, it's
I'm so sorry. Take out your notebook. We'll transition. Everything will work out, okay? Good. Who is it? Evan. Cecil Rhodes. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what connects the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea? Good. What do we got, Tess? What connects the Pacific and Atlantic? Good. What is it? Reagan. Panama. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is going to allow colonists to imperial powers like England to have more control over territories? Because they will be more, they'll be able to respond faster to any threats. Evan. Telegraph. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of an Indian who fights for the British? Good. What do we got, Sam? Sepoys. On your whiteboard, please tell me, the Sepoys will rebel against the British because of a rumor about what? Good. What is it, Emma? Animal grease on guns. On your whiteboard, give me one outcome of the Sepoy Rebellion. Give me one outcome of the Sepoy Rebellion. Good. Good. What does that mean, Claire? Like in 90 years. Yeah, no. That does not work. Good. What do we got? Shannon. British completely take over India. Okay? They were beforehand informal guests. Now they're occupying. Okay? Another answer you could have written is going to create anti-British sentiment, Claire. That's what you're getting at, I think. Okay? It's going to start this anti-British belief. Okay? All right. So we talked about Southeast Asia and stuff like that, but we got to get to Africa. So here we go. Imperialism in Africa is your next big heading, ladies and gentlemen. This is a doozy. We're moving real quick today. But do you see my floors? Okay, so imperialism in Africa has a nickname called the Scramble for Africa, ladies and gentlemen. You need to have that down. Scramble for Africa. Okay, your major competition is between the French, the Portuguese, the Belgians, and the English. Now, ladies and gentlemen, of those four, who is it really between? French and the British, as we know from our map. The French are going to take the west, the British are going to take the east for a majority. Okay, so those are the big ones. So what we're going to see is that the Europeans see Africa as the dark continent. This is their justification for imperialism. It's called the dark continent. Now, is it explicitly just because they have dark skin that they call the dark continent? No. Is it part of it? Yes, because they're racist. Yes. However, it's called the dark continent because there is no Enlightenment ideas, no industrialization. So they call it the dark continent because the Western values haven't made it there. So it's their responsibility. Isn't that wonderful? So, it's called the dark continent. You do need to know that. Not just because they're being racist, which they are also being racist. It's because they don't have any Enlightenment values as well as no industrialization. Okay. You need to know that European exploration of Africa becomes very fashionable. Okay, European exploration of Africa becomes very fashionable. Like today in 2020, if you're a billionaire and you've got lots of money, you're throwing it towards a space program so you can go float around in space, right? That's what you do with crazy money in 2020. Can we agree? Like a Saudi prince just went up to space like a couple months ago. He spent like, I think, $600,000 for like 45 minutes in space. I thought it was a pretty good price. I don't know how much I thought it would be, but like, that was pretty reasonable. You know, he has plenty of money, so he wanted to go to space. It's the final frontier, right? I'm a Star Trekkie, so don't judge. Okay, so back then, in fashion, if you had lots of money, okay, you would go to Africa and wander around. So, you need to know that it is King Leopold II of Belgium. This is a big deal, and he's absolutely on each other. Leopold II of Belgium is going to create the Congo Free State. What's funny about that? No, it's absolutely not free. They're not even slaves because they were never purchased. They're just enslaved. Yeah. Anyway, he's going to create the Congo Free State, which is a commercial venture, aka business. He doesn't run the country like a country, he runs it like a business, which means there are profits and there are losses. And the losses are people. Yeah, they just murder millions. They don't care. Okay, so. Okay. The South African Boer War is your heading. This is can be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to simplify it as best I possibly can. But it's definitely fascinating. And there's people today who still call themselves Boers, so fascinating. Okay, so the Dutch East India Trade Company controlled South Africa first. So the Dutch East India Trade Company controlled South Africa first. The people who lived there under the Dutch were called Boers. You to know that. So if they're Dutch, what color are they? They're white. Yeah, it's a bunch of white people. Okay? So, the Dutch who lived there, okay, who lived in South Africa, they're farmers, you want to acknowledge that, and they call themselves Boers. You need to know that. Eventually, after generations, okay, so we have kind of like you used to be a peninsular if you came from Spain and you moved to Mexico, okay, and then your children who were born in Mexico were called Creoles. So, you're a Boer if you're from the Dutch, if you're from the Netherlands, and you live in South Africa. Once you live in South Africa and you were born in South Africa, you become an Afrikaner, and you need to look at the spelling. Okay, Afrikaner. So, the second and onward generations of Boers become Afrikaners, and you need to look at the spelling because the spelling is important. Okay, so if you see Afrikaners, they are white. You need to be acknowledging that they are white and born in South Africa. People in South Africa today who are white call themselves Afrikaners. And I know that because my brother is blonde. That's a whole other story we don't have time for. Why my brother's an idiot. Okay, so you need to know these Afrikaners are competing with local tribes. Okay? Are competing with local tribes and it's not going well. Okay, so there's already conflict with the locals. Okay, so the Boer War begins in 1899 to 1902. So the actual Boer War is going to begin here. 1899 to 1902. Okay, so the British take over South Africa from the Dutch and force the Afrikaners north. So the Dutch are there. The British take over and they're like, hey, we can't be here anymore. And they're like, yes we can. And they're like, nah, move. And it's called the Great Trek. Okay, so the British take over and they start pushing the Afrikaners eastward and they push them on what we call the Great Trek. Okay, they're still fighting with the natives. You need to acknowledge that. When I say natives, what color are these people? Yeah, they're fighting with the indigenous blacks of Africa. Okay, so the British are going to allow them to stay to the east until the Afrikaners discover gold. So, the British push the Afrikaners east. They're cranky. The Afrikaners are like, oh man, this sucks. And they march east, and then they like trip into a hole, and they're like, shit, there's gold here. Yes! Then the British are like, hell no. Okay? Hell no. So then the British declare war on the Afrikaners once gold is discovered. Okay, so the Boer War is white on white war, ladies and gentlemen. It is white people versus white people over African gold. Okay, that is why it's a big deal. We need to put a star next to it. Boer War is white people fighting white people over African resources. Is this ideal or not ideal? It is not ideal. Okay? Now, if it was white people killing black people, you think anyone would notice? It's happening all the time, all over the place. No one would even mention it. However, the fact that it's white people versus white people makes people very uncomfortable. So, because of that, we have the Berlin Conference. So, the Boer War has white people killing white people. Other white people are like, man, this is bad precedent. We don't want white people killing white people. So then they call a meeting, and that's what the Berlin Conference is. It is 14 European countries and the United States get together in and talk about the rules of imperialization. Okay? So, we talk about the rules of imperialization. You need to put a star. Imperialization of Africa. Like, let's make that clear. It is 14 nations getting together to discuss the rules for imperialization in Africa. Slav, you need this down. So write it down. You're not done. I know you're not. I can see you staring off into space, boss. So, Berlin Conference, 14 countries get together to discuss the rules of imperialization. You need to put a star. No Africans invited. Why is that horrific? Because they're dividing Africa, people. They're literally dividing Africa, and guess who's not there? Africa. So, you need to know that you can, the rule is made that once a white country conquers it, no one can challenge their authority. So, they're trying to stop what from happening? White on white war. So if a white country claims a territory, no other white country can go in and try taking it over. That's pretty much the rule they make. What is not addressed? Yeah, they never mention if you can kill Africans, if that's okay or not. It just wasn't mentioned. So what did they, by not mentioning it, what did they allow? Yeah, they didn't care. They didn't count the Africans. So you can't kill white people. That's a huge offense. And if a white country, invades another white country, then all the 13 other countries are going to invade you and take you over, and that's like the threat, yes? Okay? But if you kill black people in Africa, comes with the territory, you know? It's like, you can't take over Africa without killing some Africans, right? That's how they saw it. Isn't that disgusting? This is white superiority at its absolute peak. There you go. So, Europe is going to dominate Africa except for two places, which you already know these two places. What are the two places that the Africans were able to outbeat them? Daniel, what two places on the map? Thank you, Daniel. Who can help him out? Joey. Ethiopia and Liberia are the two countries that were not taken by the white people. Okay, so I want you to skip a space, and you're going to write types of colonies. Skip space, here we go, types of colonies. So your first types of colony is called a concessionary company. Okay, concessionary company. It's called a concessionary company. What do they run it like? A company. Okay, you need to know that it's a private company. It's private, which means one person owns it or a few people own it. Okay, and they're known for their horrible abuses. Because they don't have the moral responsibility of a country, they're a company. Companies can do whatever they want. It's capitalism. Okay? They're known for their moral abuses. Okay? Who is the perfect example? You're going to write nice and big underneath it. Example would be what country? There's really only one perfect example of it. Shannon? The Belgian Congo under King Leopold II. That is your perfect example of a concessionary company. The Belgian Congo under King Leopold II. You need to know that. Okay, your second type of colony is called a direct rule colony. This is when they are trying to change the culture to reflect the home country. Okay, so it is when. So a perfect example is Algeria. Algeria is France. If you are writing down examples, you can write France, and I would say Algeria is a perfect example. in Algeria. Algeria is located in the north part of Africa. By the way, half of the country is in the Saharan Desert. So give you a point of geography. With that being said, they forced all the French culture on the people of Algeria. So the women of Algeria had to wear corsets and floor-length dresses and sleeves that went to their wrists in the Saharan Desert. Why? They wanted them to be more French. And why do people in France wear that? Because it's cold in France, people. It has the same temperature range as like North Carolina and like Virginia. That's the same French territory. So it gets cold up there. Guess what doesn't happen in Algeria? Cold, because it's in the Saharan Desert. So you need to know that they're going to force clothing changes, language, and education. Now, if you went to an Algeria, there's a very famous book, Letters from Algeria, I believe is what it's called. I'm not 100% on that title. It's a very famous book about a boy who was living in Algeria who was getting taught at his local school. And at school, every day, they learned about the geography of France. They're in Algeria. And they were learning about the 4 major rivers of France and the different geography of each of the 9 regions of France. Guess what is completely useless to this kid? Okay, because guess where he's never going? France. There you go. So, that is where we're going to see. So the French are the biggest supporters of direct rule. The French are forcing their food, their culture, their ideas, and all that stuff on them. Then you have indirect rule, which is your third type of rule. And this is primarily British, except where? India. So you're going to write British are the ones who are doing indirect rule, except in India. That's a huge exception. Why wouldn't they want indirect rule in India? Because of rebellions. And what else about India? What else is special about India? It is their most profitable colony, so they want to keep it really tight and under control because they hate to lose their moneymaker. It's like if your son was the YouTube kid who made $26 million last year. You know the kid who unwraps gifts? This kid pisses me off. $26 million in 1 year. He's like 8 years old, and he made $26 million opening free things because all like toy manufacturers just send this family stuff so they can pick one and like open it on YouTube, and millions of kids will watch and buy that shit. Do you think their parents let anything happen to that little kid? That kid is under lock and key, friends. That kid is worth how much? How many millions is that kid worth? Those parents don't let that kid out of their sight. Hell no. That kid doesn't get to eat like grapes and hot dogs. He can't choke. Their money machine is dead. Sorry, I did a CPR class this weekend, and like I'm traumatized by like the idea of like having like Heimlich maneuver a child. Like that was traumatizing. Anyway, like yeah. So the British are not going to let India out of their way. It's the YouTube kid, man. It's their cash cow. They can't let it go. So I hate this kid. Have you seen him? He's like a real dweeb too. I know he's 8. Like I get it, but like he's not like a cool 8. Like the Shirley Temple kid is cute. Moving forward, we may have gone off track with that.
We needed an example.
Okay. So, what is indirect control? This is a big part. They use local rulers. They use local rulers to enforce British demands. Okay? So, say for instance, England takes over the United States. It doesn't happen, we're industrialized power, but we'll just pretend for a second, just so you can understand the indirect rule. The British are not going to remove Donald Trump from power. They're going to tell, hey, Donald Trump, you can stay in power because you're the president, you can stay in power, but you're going to do everything I tell you to do. And if Donald Trump opposes, guess what? He dies, obviously. And then they'll just replace him with Mike Pence. And if Mike Pence says no, then it goes to Nancy Pelosi. Okay? So, with that being said, they keep the local leaders in power, but do the local rulers really have any power? No. It is a friendlier system. It's a friendlier system to the locals. You're going to want to write that down. Next to direct rule, you should write the most harsh and most destructive. I'm sorry, I should have told you that earlier. Next to direct rule, you should have written most harsh and destructive. So, indirect rule is a little bit nicer because you're getting yelled at by your own people and not from like white people. In direct rule, all of the local leaders have been removed and it's all a bunch of white people. We get that, yes? Okay, so, there you go. Everyone understands indirect rule is happening everywhere in British colonies except in India, correct? Because the YouTube kid. Got it. Alright, skip a space, center it, Oceania. Okay. Alright, Oceania. Australia is going to be conquered by the British. It's used as a penal colony. What is a penal colony? Evan. Yeah. So Britain was full of like debtors and murderers and all these other things, like modern day crimes, and so they needed a place to send them because it was too small of an island to keep them. So they sent them to Australia. Okay? So they sent them to Australia for a while because no one. Could you imagine going to be like the first like person in Australia to like land in Australia, like white person? Okay, there's obviously people there, and like you see a kangaroo, and then you go back to like England and be like, dude, you won't believe what I just saw. I saw like a rat-looking thing, but it's like 8 feet tall. But instead of crawling, it hops. And if you piss it off, it punches you in the face. Could you imagine that conversation with someone who has no idea kangaroos exist? And you'd be like, this is the most absolute bullshit story I've ever heard. And you'd be like, dude, I got punched in the face. And not only do you get punched in the face by kangaroos, they also kick you. And if they kick you, you're practically going to die because it crushes all of your internal bones. Could you imagine? Yeah, and it carries its kid in a pouch. Like that shit. Can you imagine trying to explain that with a straight face to a bunch of people who have no idea what you're just like, that would be insane. And then there's like these little teddy bear things that just hang out in trees and just like eat leaves all day. That would be the walleyes, which are now pretty much gone. Anyway, all right. So it starts as a penal colony, but then British colonists arrive by choice. So it starts as a penal colony, and then people arrive by choice, and gold is discovered. So once gold discovers, guess what happens? Everyone else shows up. Yeah. Okay. So so once people start happening, people start coming, we're going to see a massive indigenous population crash. Okay, so once all the white people start showing up, we start bringing their diseases, and then we have the spread of smallpox again, and that's going to wipe out the indigenous population. Did you know that there are still indigenous populations in Australia today? Yeah, there are some. They're very, 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 very few. And they are not treated well by the government. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. Are they? How is our indigenous population doing? Yeah, terrible. Yeah, the United States has done terrible things about it. Alright, so in the Pacific Islands, so we're done with Australia. So in the Pacific Islands, we're going to start seeing commercial outposts. They're not colonies, they're commercial outposts, which means people who are sailing for fish, whatever, are stopping there and getting goods and moving on. Okay? So, you are going to see that the British, French, German, and Americans are going to start taking over Pacific Islands, okay, in order to support their Navy efforts. What? British, French, German, and America. They're taking over Pacific Islands in order to conquer for the naval position. All right, good to go. All right, there you go. All right, skip space center. U.S. imperialism. Yay! Yay! Because America has super clean white hands and we don't do anything wrong, right?
Yes.
Fake news! Don't you remember the Trail of Tears last week? Yeah, why? All right, here we go. You need to know that James Monroe, President James Monroe, is going to issue the Monroe Doctrine, which is a very big document. You should put a star next to it. It's a big deal. We still use it to this day to justify our bad behavior. Trump actually referenced it in his inaugural address. Yes, thank you. He said that we have the right to protect anything. He actually cited it, which is I was like, oh my god, he's referencing the Monroe Doctrine, which is, right, okay, so what the Monroe Doctrine says, the United States is in charge of the Western Hemisphere. Any country who interferes in the Western Hemisphere, so the United States is in control of the Western Hemisphere, any country who interferes in the Western Hemisphere is interfering with the United States. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just clarify. If England wants to trade with Spain, no, if England wants to trade with Brazil, guess what? They can't. Because we take care of them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how well do you think we take care of South America? We don't. Who do you think benefits from this? Why were we capable of issuing this proclamation saying that you're not allowed to trade with anyone except for us? Why? We're industrialized, and none of those other countries in South America and Central America were, and that's a long way to travel across the ocean in order to get to America, correct? So no other country thought they could wage war against the United States, so guess what stuck? The Monroe Doctrine. There you go. So if you wanted to do anything in the Western Hemisphere, you had to get America's permission. Yeah. So you should be aware that in 1867 we purchased Alaska from Russia. In 1875 we steal Hawaii in a coup. I want you to know that. We take Hawaii in a coup. What does that mean? It means we overthrew the government for our own gain. Dole, have you heard of Dole? Pineapple company? You go to the grocery store and look at the pineapples, they'll all say Dole on it. Dole is a dude. He overthrew the Hawaiian government to make it cheaper for him to export pineapples. Eventually. Okay. Spanish-Cuban-American War. Okay. The U.S. declare war on Spain after the battleship Maine sinks. You need to know that. Okay, so U.S. declare war on Spain after the U.S. battleship the Maine is sunk in Cuba. Guess who sunk it? We did! Did you see that coming? Yeah, we sunk it, and then we're like, Spain, you bastards, and then we went after them. Okay, so because of that, okay, we take possession of Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. So from the Spanish-Cuban-American War, Spain loses, we win, we get Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. Okay? So, after our confidence, we start interfering in every Caribbean island. Now, we're going to really study this as we go forward. We're going to have a bunch. Have you ever heard of a banana republic? Yeah, it's a negative connotation when we call things banana republic. It's because it's the United States set up a prop, and we use it for exploitation. Yeah. Okay. All right. Panama Canal. Hey, Lauren. Okay. So, you need to know the Panama Canal is built by Teddy Roosevelt, not FDR. FDR's World War II. We're at the turn of the 20th century. Okay? going to create Panama. He's going to create the Panama Canal, and he uses the Monroe Doctrine to justify it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why do you think Theodore Roosevelt wanted to build the Panama Canal? Is it to add wealth to the country of Panama, or is it for American benefit? American benefit. So we used the Monroe Doctrine saying that we had the right to take over anything we needed to. So we took over the country of Panama and built the Panama Canal. Isn't that nice? Don't worry, we killed thousands in the meantime. Only a couple hundred Americans died, but not that much. Okay. Japan. So skip a space, center it. Japanese. You need to know the Japanese are going to start conquering territory. Start conquering territory and adding to their empire. Okay? Their navy is purchased from the British, which is very common. Like, after we have ships here in the United States that are old, we sell them to other countries. Did you know that? Yeah, it's very common practice. So, the Japanese purchase warships from Britain, and they're going to use it to go over and attack. Okay, so the Japanese are expanding. Perfect. Okay, so you do need to know social Darwinism. I need you to know. Social Darwinism. Okay. There's just a little. That's pretty much it. You need to know social Darwinism is the belief that white people have been given the skills to conquer, which makes them powerful and chosen by God. It's a justification for imperialism. There you go. Good luck tomorrow. 27 minutes. Focus. Pieces due. See ya.
What about that?
Oh, I'll play tomorrow. I totally forgot. Thanks, Maggie. Maggie. No, Reagan.
Why
No.
did we leave them?
Because the next people don't want them. No.
They need them.
They will get it on their own. Huh?
I'm taking the shirt.
No, because they won't get it, and they'll have two on their desk, and then they'll leave one underneath their desk, and then it will die there. Not my first rodeo, friend.
Read the words.
Goodbye.
Don't get anything on any stack. Just put it in your backpack every single time.
Is there your chemistry book too?
Yeah.
From yesterday?
No, I actually tried. I remember everything
Test that you're bored on.
Oh, God, sorry.
We did not turn it in this morning. We're going to turn it in tomorrow. Just because I forgot